I'd like to start out by asking you who you are, what you do, what districts you serve, that kind of thing.
What I do for a living or my role at the Capitol?
Both, everything, all of the above.
Okay, sure. My name's Nicholas Muscarello, Jr. I'm an attorney by trade and small business owner, and currently the chairman of Civil Law and Procedure for the House of Representatives, District 86.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So, would you mind explaining a little bit about this bill?
So I actually authored the bill in 2019 when Governor Landry was then the Attorney General for the state of Louisiana, and it's the name of the bill or the model of the bill is called the Drug Shield Statute, and the concept was that, and we derived this concept from Texas and other states. It allowed the drug companies to be shielded from public exposure if they provided the drugs for the lethal injection process. That bill was subsequently killed in Senate. I think it was Jude C. I could be wrong on that. And ultimately, the bill died in the Senate committee, but it made it through the House and the House committee. Then fast forward, we now have a new governor, and I authored the same bill, but in addition to the drug shield statute, I added different forms of execution, being nitrogen hypoxia and the electric chair. And the bill made it through all steps of the process and was signed by the governor recently. We just had a bill signing. I think it's probably about 3-4 weeks ago.
Yes, sir. You're absolutely right that it was 3 to 4 weeks ago. So our next question comes from our reporter, Cade Williams, which is, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, but I'd like you to expand on it. What inspired you to author this bill?
Well, I don't think you get inspired to do this. It was more of I felt like a duty to perform something that we committed to the victims' families that we would do. And I'll tell you a little bit of the history. Wayne Gazzardo, whose daughter Stephanie was murdered at Calendar's Restaurant in Baton Rouge, is a good friend of my family. They're from Tangibao Parish. So initially when I authored the bill in 2019, I didn't know Wayne Gazzardo. I knew the family name, and I actually knew his daughter. She was actually, when I was in college, I waited tables, and she performing our duties as elected officials and, performing the executions for people that commit heinous crimes. And, the death penalty is not something that you want to talk about or that I'm excited to be a part of. Trust me, that's not in my DNA. But I do feel for the families that have been told, we're going to execute the murderers of your loved ones. So I think we have a duty to do that. And I've told my colleagues who don't support the death penalty, if you want to bring a bill that abolishes the death penalty, I can't say that I'm going to vote for it, but keep trying to do it. And that bill came and never got out of the House. So it's the law of the land, and it's federally legal. It's legal in Texas. It's legal in everywhere. It's legal in 27 states. So we have a duty to, in my opinion, to do what we committed to the victims' families.
I see. Thank you. And it's a very interesting that you have, in a way, a personal connection to this. That's very interesting. So this next question is my own. What was it like finding out that this bill had become a law?
Well, I will tell you, when I saw the victims' families, and so I didn't present the bill on the Senate. The senator, the way the process works, if it makes it to the Senate side, then a senator has to present the bill to the Senate. I don't have the ability to do that. And to see and I was up in the galley with the governor and the victims' families when they were presenting the bill, because of course this is the last step of the process. If it makes it out the Senate, then it's pretty much a done deal. The governor's going to sign it. He already said he would sign it. So to see the emotion in the family, and it was like it brought them joy. And I hate to say that just sounds so weird, but it to know that they've been latching on to this for so long that they kind of, and the emotion that they brought in it, it was a good day for the families and the victims. But to say that it was one of my prouder moments, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, I want to the bills that I've authored, financial literacy to educate people, bring financial literacy to our state. Those are the bills that make me proud. But sometimes legislating isn't easy. So I had to do the hard work to get it done, and I feel good about it. I don't like to, it's not a subject I want to brag about, but, it was a heavy lift, and I was happy to do it.
I understand, and I thank you for sitting down with me to talk about it. This next question is another one of Cade's, which is, Louisiana has not carried out an execution in 14 years. Do you see the passing of this bill as an effort to see a greater number of executions in the coming years?
I know that this governor has already said that he will perform his duty and he will begin the execution. So in 14 years, actually it's been longer than 14 years because the guy 14 years ago voluntarily offered to be executed. He didn't want to go through he waived all of his appeals. So a true contested execution, I think, hasn't happened in like 23 or 28 years. So, yes, I do think that you'll see after in my understanding, there are two people that appeal delays have run and that they're just sitting on death row. So I would think that, the opponents of the bill will challenge it. Once it goes through the challenges and they realize that it's a solid bill, then I do think you'll see executions in the state of Louisiana within the next year to year and 6 months. That's just a guess.
Got it. Thank you. And I will look up when the last true execution was. And we'll have that information on the pod, like on the finished product. So this next question comes from my news reporter, Coco, and it is, the electrocution method specifically has not been used since 1991, and originally only 8 states allowed it. Why do you feel Louisiana should be one of those states to have this execution method?
It was really easy. I'm a lawyer, so I went and researched what methods of execution are legal in the United States. And electric chair has been deemed valid. And in 2020, the state of Tennessee performed an execution by electric chair. So that's where I came up with the motto. It wasn't like I'm trying to be cruel or be creative. I mean, it was literally what's legal and what can we use and what hasn't been challenged. Because what I don't want to do is spend a lot of time and energy debating a bill or a method that's not, legal.
Right. I understand that. And I'm going to speak on behalf of Coco here and say that it absolutely was not her intention when she wrote this question to accuse you of being cruel or unusual. I looked over.
Oh yeah, no, I don't take that. No, I didn't mean in that way. The methods were determined by what's legal.
I understand, and that's the same way that the nitrogen method came about.
Yes.
Understood. Thank you. This next question is one of Cade's, and it goes as following. You say this bill is about the family of those on death row and that you want to bring closure to them after they have had to wait for the convicted to be brought to death. So would you say that in your eyes this bill is doing a good thing by bringing closure to families in comparison to another reality in which they are rehabilitated and may be sentenced to carry out a life sentence?
So I will tell you that it's not that horse has left the barn. I mean, they've already been deemed guilty, and they've already been given the death penalty. So I don't know about a good thing because that's not, and I know that's probably just a term that he said, but it's not like I think this is good. Nothing good comes out of this whole situation. I mean, the victims lost a loved one, and the person that decided to do foolish things and kill someone loses their freedom and their ultimately their life. So it's a means to an end. Again, it was something. It's something that had to be done, and I'm proud to be a part of the process.
I understand.
Because, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a legislator. I have to do things what I think is right for the community and for the state.
Right.
It don't necessarily mean that you know, it's something that I want to do and that I'm proud of, but at the end of the day, it's necessary work, and it's a commitment to the victims and their families. So I kind of hang my hat on that.
I understand. I apologize for interrupting. It is difficult with this phone call to determine when somebody is finished talking. I apologize about that.
No problem.
Our next question is from Coco. Other states, such as Georgia and Nebraska, have voiced their opinions by saying the electric chair violated their state constitution prohibition against cruel and unusual punishment. What are your thoughts on cruel and unusual punishment? Not to say that the death penalty is in and of itself cruel and unusual, but like for you and when you were kind of sort of thinking of this bill, where was the line for you?
It's subjective, I think. I think if you ask 10 people, you'll get 10 different responses. Again, that's why we have courts, and so you know, sometimes, look, I'm an attorney, and sometimes the court makes rulings that I disagree with, but they're the court, they're the judicial branch, and so again, I came up with the concept not because anything other than it was legal and Tennessee had done it. I mean, and with my research, that's what I came up with. But I think my definition of cruel and unusual is kind of irrelevant because, again, it's subjective, and you know, different people have different opinions.
Right, that makes sense. This next question is my own, and it is a criticism that I have seen of this bill is that it is not pro-life. Everybody has a different interpretation of what pro-life means. So what does it mean to you, and how do you think that this bill furthers it?
Well, I think they're getting into... so you're asking if I think this bill is pro-life?
Not necessarily. Just that, like, sort of... Like, when I was reading, like, The Advocate and BRZ and everything, most of the opposition to this bill centered on the words pro-life. And I thought that specifically was an interesting argument, and I wanted to kind of hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, so I think what you're referring to is that some members of the legislature who said, you know, we're pro-life, so therefore we don't want to vote to put somebody to death. All lives are important.
Yes, sir.
Or something to that effect. I forget their argument. But at the end of the day, you know, I didn't really delve into that. That's more of a personal philosophy that people, you know, dig deep, you know, think about. But it wasn't anything that it wasn't a purpose for the bill. I did the bill because the law says if you commit a heinous crime, you put people to death, and that's what I wanted to accomplish.
Understood. Thank you. So this question is from Cade. This bill made national headlines. What was it like as a state representative to get feedback from the whole nation?
I will say that was an interesting, you know, as a legislator, that was interesting. You know, in fact, the first call I received was from NBC News, and you don't normally get those calls. So I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. But, you know, I guess it's a hot-button issue, and I truly understand it. And I knew it would get a little publicity because in 2019, when I authored the bill, it kind of got the same response. But most legislators that I serve with, you know, we run bills because we we think it's the right thing to do. When I did my financial literacy bill, that's my proudest bill. I got a lot of got a lot of calls from media and a lot of interview requests, but that's not what drives me. What drives me is just being a good legislator and trying to be respected by my colleagues and more importantly, my constituents.
I understand. How do you feel that you work to be respected by and represent your constituents?
Well, so I've been working in politics since I was in college. I worked for State Senator John Hankel, and he was a good man and he was a good mentor. And so I'd always known that I'd want to be, serving for my community. And I'm fortunate enough to get elected 6 years ago, and it's just been, a very positive experience. I love serving, my state. I love getting wins for the state of Louisiana. I'm bullish on the future of Louisiana. I'm quite frankly tired of people saying that we aren't where we need to be, and because I know the potential that our state has. So it's great to be in the halls and do what I think is right to make our state win. And that's all I want to do. I want to get wins for Louisiana.
Absolutely. Wins for Louisiana would be great.
Yeah, and we're going to do it.
And this last question is actually related to that. It comes from Coco, and I'm going to add a little part to the end of it, which is, what is your vision for the future of our state? And could you maybe give us a little preview into some things that you're trying to, some legislation that you're trying to push right now?
Absolutely. So, no state in the nation has the resources and the people that we have. We have the best people and the best resources. We've just been sidetracked with politics for too long, and I feel like we've got a governor who I'm a big fan of. I can't say that I really knew him before he got elected because we just never really crossed paths. But he's been such a motivation to the legislature, and he's a gutsy guy, and I like people that take chances and do bold, aggressive things, because at this point, that's where we have, he made a statement the other day that we're moving fast, but when you're in last place, you've got to move fast. And, I love that drive. I love that energy. So I feel like we're going to be a part of a turning point in Louisiana. I think I'll look back in 20 years and be proud of the work that we've done. But as far as your question about what I want to accomplish, me personally, I want to change our tax structure. I want to change the way we spend money, which the governor has already put out a executive order asking all branches of government, not branches, but sections of government to, basically cut spending, and not cut spending, but cut wasteful spending. And so I love that about him. And I think we need to work on educating our students, and that's why I'm proud of the financial literacy. I know I keep going back to that, but I just think any bill that moves the needle, I love. And I think that's going to move the needle. And I think the work that we're going to do with education this year will move the needle as far as, making sure our students get the best education they can. Because, I want people to succeed. I want them to have a good life, because with good life comes less crime and less, other negative things. If we can have positive experiences for our people, then they'll live good, happy lives, and that's what I want.
Absolutely. We are just working towards a better Louisiana.
That's it.
Those are all the questions that me and my news team have for you. Is there any questions that you have for us, or is there anything that you think I didn't touch on or that you want to elaborate on?
Oh, y'all LSU students, right?
Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm happy for y'all for, getting in and living your dream, and it's good. I think it's good for politicians to be held accountable and get our message out. And sometimes it's not always fun, but transparency is the key to any form of government, and so I appreciate you taking your time to interview me.
Yes, sir. And I very much appreciate you taking time to be interviewed. You're very right that transparent government is important, and therefore I appreciate your transparency.
No problem. Well, appreciate your time.
Yes, of course. Thank you. And you have a good Friday and a good Easter. That was Representative Nicholas Muscarello. Once again, I apologize for the strange setup. I had to improvise with the microphone and the headphones. But I'm Mel Bridges, and that was Tiger Talk. Thank you.